Here's the truth. 99% of the agents in your market that you're competing with have never heard of this before. But if you actually do what it is I'm going to show you in this video, your business will blow up. You'll get clients and you'll start making money in the next 30 days. And look, if you're a real estate agent watching this video, you're putting in the work every single day, but you're not yet making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month. I'd love to be your coach. If you're open to that conversation, I'll put a link in the description. And so if I needed clients immediately and I needed to make money as fast as possible, sure, I could go after expired listings and for sale by owners. But the problem is with that business, maybe you know this, is those properties tend to be what? Less than desirable. I got to drive all over town, maybe 30, 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half to go on those appointments because I have no choice where those listings are. And then the other big problem is the people that I have to deal with. I mean, we'll just call it what it is. They're less than desirable. They expired off the market for a reason. They're selling on their own for a reason. Maybe they're overpriced. Maybe they're undermotivated. But regardless, I want to go after lead sources with people that have high motivation and no competition. So here's exactly what I would do. I would go into my MLS. And I would simply do a simple search and I would build a list of 100 absentee owners of people who have purchased their property in between 2008 and 2013. Why? Well, when we look at home values, we know for sure that in most markets, if not every single market across the country, that prices were at all-time lows during this period of time. So the first thing I want to do is say, okay, who has the highest likely to do something within inside of my market? I'm going to explain more why this is the case in just a second, but this is step one. Now, once I have this list, step two, I'm going to then go into the MLS and look at all the MLS history. And specifically what I'm looking for is the rental histories. I'm trying to look for these properties, these 100 properties that had a lease listing inside of the MLS. And specifically, I'm looking for the dates within the last 12 months. Why? Because I'm trying to target property owners that have rental properties when they purchased the home at a very, very, very low price. And I'm trying to see who out of those 100 people have a lease that is coming due. So I'm going to go into the MLS and I'm going to just make sure that when I search these, it's a lease listing that has happened within inside of the last 12 months. Then step three, I'm going to just do a quick AVM. I'm not going to spend hours and hours and hours doing CMAs on every single one of these. No, I'm going to go in most of your MLSs should have a tool that allows you to just do a quick value if it doesn't give it to you automatically, which most MLSs do. And all you're trying to do is you're looking at all of these properties. So you started off with 100, right? So you had 100. Maybe you find out of that 100 people of that original list, maybe you have 25 that actually had lease listings inside of the MLS that you could find that have happened within the last 12 months. So these are the properties that we're focused on right now. Those are the properties that we're going to do a quick valuation on. And what we're looking for, ideally, is the biggest discrepancy from purchase price to current value. And so if we can do that, we're trying to find which of these properties of the 25 have the greatest gap between what this person paid and what this property is now worth. Once I have that, I can move on to step four, which is to send those property owners. And now we're talking about, okay, so maybe out of the 25, you find 10 really, really, really good properties where the discrepancy between, again, what they paid and what that property is worth is pretty dramatic. And we're going to send those property owners what I call a equity alert mailer. Now, here's the gold. Here's why this works so well. We're going to send them a letter. This could be a letter. This could be a postcard. This could be anything. You could try a bunch of different things. What I've had success with is both. We use a company called Mailbox Power, where we can send this in like an 8.5 by 11, essentially postcard. So they see it. As soon as they open the mail, it's big. They can't miss it. That might be an option. You might send this as a letter. There's multiple different ways to do this. But essentially, here's what's going on. Inside of the letter, we are going to address these personally. So we want to make sure that we have the property owner's first name. It's really, really important that we are addressing the actual homeowner. And just as a side note, send these to their primary address. Don't send this to the property address where there's maybe a tenant there. That is, you're going to miss the boat on this. So we're sending this to their primary address, which again, you can find in your MLS. It's all public record. And so when we address the actual homeowner, we are going to outline within inside of this mailer the fact that they have this untapped equity, this untapped amount of income that can be theirs right now if they decide to do something. And inside of the mailer, the reason why this thing works so well, there's a lot of psychological principles behind it. We're doing a direct side-by-side comparison, and we're comparing what their property looked like when they purchased it from a sales price perspective. You're going to actually put that on the mailer. We call that then. And in comparison to now, to what the property is actually worth, and we show that discrepancy, again, what they could actually get for the property right now. And here's what we're betting on. We're betting on the fact that A, this person, when they purchased this property, when values were at all-time highs, that they're wanting to take advantage of prices now that are at the top of the market. As you know, values are at an all-time high. We're trying to catch these people in the perfect timeline. That's number one. Number two, and maybe more importantly, think about this person that purchased this property back in 2009. So they have been landlords now for 10, 12, 15, coming up on 2 decades. We call these tired landlords. Many of them have gotten the cash flow that they wanted by making that investment, but many of them are sick and tired of being landlords. Most of them say, okay, when you put this in front of them and you make it very tangible to see, okay, I got a choice. I can re-rent this to another bonehead and, have to deal with all the brain damage of being a landlord, or I can cash out. I can get this equity right now. And you're the one that you're putting them in this emotional state, because that is exactly what we want to do from a psychological perspective. We want to get people emotional. So within inside of the equity alert mailer, you want to make sure that you're calling out the pain points that most landlords deal with. People, screwing up the property, people not paying their rent, obviously, on time, people calling them all the time to make all these small little fixes. You want to call out the 3, 4, 5 biggest pain points that people deal with and say, now is your opportunity, more so than any time you've owned this property, to actually cash out, make a huge profit. You might even have a nice ROI section on the mailer as well that outlines, look, you've done really well with this investment. Maybe it's time to cash out and move on. And here's the thing, many of them will. In my experience, if you send out 10 of these, at least 5 people will pick up the phone and call you about having a conversation about getting this sold, or having a conversation about the mailer that you sent them. And so just imagine if you actually scale this system and you send out 100 of these per month, you could be getting 20, 30 inbound seller phone calls with no competition of sellers in the marketplace that have the highest motivation to sell. Not only that, if you looked in your MLS right now as we speak, here's what you're going to find. You are going to find that of all closings inside of your MLS, about 20% of all closings are these people. How do I know? Simply do a quick search inside your MLS, look at all the closings in the past 30 days, and then look at which ones had the homestead of 0% versus homestead of 100%, and you will see about 20 or even more of all 20% or more of those closings are coming from these people. And so now is your opportunity to get clients really, really fast and do something where none of the other agents in your marketplace are even aware of doing something like this. And so the next question in your head is like, okay, well, what does that conversation sound like when I get one of these people on the phone? What does that sound like? Well, I recorded myself for about 30 minutes having conversation with high motivated absentee owners. You can watch me do that right here.